I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
So, I stepped into the game and I wrote a song this week. And this song, I hardly know it yet. It's still teaching me what it's about, but it was, but my late husband used to say that when you create something, whether he was a writer and a songwriter, and he says, it wasn't really complete until you shared it. So you're giving me a gift today and allowing me to share my new song with you. So it was inspired by two things. The first, the ancient Hawaiian fish ponds, the Loko Koapa, right? Loko Iha. So the ones with the walls, though, the ones that are engineers, is that the Koapa? Did I get that wrong? The Loko Iha? It's just such a lovely metaphor for me for allowing your good to come, right? You know, it's like they knew how to engineer their lives so that they didn't block the good, and the fish would come in and it would grow, and it was the aquaculture nourished the community. And I was chatting with Kailani this week, and Kailani reminded me that holding on to pain and grief and doubt can block the flow. And so this is what I wrote. I'm going to move this. Okay. Oops. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm a little bit nervous. So would you guys pray for me, please? Last week, I forgot the universe conspires to help me with my plot, and there I was fraught, holding on to all the pain and doubt, even though I knew that I ought not, but I forgot. But the minnows swim into the pond, the ancients wait with faith beyond, patience and love, and the fish they grow in the Loko Iha. There's faith, there's flow. And flow is a word that we writers use a lot. When you're in the flow, let me tell you, the song writes itself. But last week, I forgot. I pushed myself past exhaustion, lost my faith, lost my way, and there I was. I was fraught, holding on to all that fear and grief, and insides all in knots, 'cause I forgot that on the islands the ancients knew the sea provides, the needs are few. I walk in the sand, take my hand. We cannot force the tide. We gotta let the sea provide. So today, I recall I can let go of that fear and grief. Don't have to carry it all by myself, 'cause I'm not alone. When I show up, I'm in the flow, and I know the way to go. When I let go, I'm in the flow. When I let go, and that's it.
Wow, how fun to be in the flow, huh? My goodness. Anybody remember this movie? Yeah. Yoda and Luke were outside a cave, and Yoda was teaching Luke how to use the Force. And Yoda says, yes, a Jedi's strength flows from the Force. But beware of the dark side, anger, fear, aggression. The dark side of the Force are they. Easily they flow, quick to join you in a fight. If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will, as it did Darth Vader. Luke says, is the dark side stronger? No, no, no. Yoda says, quicker, easier, more seductive. And then in the background, we hear growling, we hear whistling, and there's some music playing. And Luke looks into the cave. And he says, still, there's something familiar about this place. Like something out of a dream. There's something not right here. I feel cold. I feel death. Yoda points to the cave. That place is strong with the dark side of the Force. A domain of evil it is. You must go. What? In there, says Luke. What's in there? Yoda says, only what you take with you. Luke begins to strap on his lightsaber. Yoda says, your weapons, no. You will not need them. But Luke ignores Yoda and secures his lightsaber belt and enters the cave. After a brief time, he's confronted by Darth Vader. A short lightsaber battle ensues between the two, and Luke strikes Vader down. Vader's helmet pops off, and Luke sees his own face staring out from it. What does a cave represent? It represents our unconscious. It represents Luke's unawareness. It represents that place in him and in us that he's unfamiliar with. And Yoda says, you don't need your lightsaber. Everything you have, you have. Everything that we have, we have. Anything that you ever notice that the things that we don't know about are the things that we fear the most? A difficult situation or a new situation sometimes can cause us fear because we don't know what the expectation or is what's going to happen out of the event, right? Anybody ever feel that way? Yeah. And Darth Vader loses. Darth Vader's head rolls, and inside Darth Vader's helmet is Luke. Isn't that interesting? Because the thing that we often know the least about is what's in our own darkness, what's in our own shadow, that part of us that creates the fear and the things that we're afraid of. What I want you to see that over and over in our life, we get to deal with the dark side. We get to deal with ourselves because that's where our enlightenment really comes forward and exists from. You know, we can blame the situations in our life, in the world, for our uncomfortableness or for the anger, disappointment, whatever it is we feel. We can blame the economy. We can blame the stock market. We can blame the president, or we can blame the ex-president for causing us to feel bad. But the truth of it is, those are just events that are happening out here. The true place where we get our strength from is from inside of ourselves. You know, human beings like to project all of their stuff out there and blame it on somebody else. True for you? We want to blame it on the Darth Vader. We want to blame it on the politicians. We want to blame it on somebody who said something to us that we took as negative and say that they created the unhappy state that we're in. But the truth of it is we have everything we need inside of us to be happy. Many people, when they come into a difficult situation, a situation that challenges them, they give up. You know, some of our best spiritual growth comes from the times when we really get to reach in and experience the moment and be alive in that moment and come from our true self and be present and be in the place of love. That's the best offense that we have against challenging times. This talk is called Getting in the Game. It's based on Brene Brown's book, Rising Strong. And this is the second part of this, the second part of this 4-part series based on Brene Brown's book. And in this book, we're going to look at, what do we do to get in the game? What can we do to be fully present in life? And today we're going to look at, and next week too, what our stories are. What are the things that we tell ourselves that create what we perceive is the reality in any moment? So we could also call this talk today the reckoning, because we're really going to look at having a reckoning, a change in perspective about the stories in our lives. Life isn't always easy. We stumble, sometimes we fall, sometimes we fail. Anybody ever failed before at anything? Yeah? If you don't raise your hand, you're probably not being honest. But Brown helps us discover the power that we can find in failing and to be able to use that moment for it to be a reckoning and for us to really look at ourselves. When we fail at something, there's a number of things that happen. And feelings can arise as a result of that failure. For example, if we fail, we might feel like I didn't get what I wanted. Right? Ever feel that way? I wanted this. I wanted this relationship. I wanted this job. I wanted this money. I wanted peace and quiet. Whatever it is, right? And I'm upset because I didn't get it. True for you? Yeah, maybe it's just me. So so today we're going to look at this process of reckoning with our stories. And our affirmation for today is, today I release my stories and embrace the powerful expression of God that I am. This book, Rising Strong, is really about 3 things. It's about a reckoning. It's sort of the realizing the things that are the stories that we have. And then the rumble, which we're going to talk about next week. And then the revelation. How can we put all of this together and really figure out what the truth is for ourselves? So we'll talk about that on June 5th. But today, we're talking about the reckoning. What have you ever felt when you failed at something? Can you kind of remember what that feels like? That embarrassed. Yeah. What else have you felt? Embarrassed? Anger. What was it? Disappointment. Sadness. Yeah, sad, right?
And not as worthy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. Not worthy. When we fail, there's a number of things that happen. We feel disappointed because we didn't get what we wanted. Oftentimes, there can be collateral damage. when there's a failure. It can affect, when we fail at something, it can affect us, it can affect our family, it can affect our significant other, it can affect our children, it can affect our employment. It has a domino effect that affects a lot more sometimes than just us. And a failure, most importantly, can cause us to question ourselves and to look at ourselves. And I think that's the gift that a failure brings us. If we can get over the blame and the anger and the disappointment and calling ourselves bad or not good enough, if we can get over that and look at, okay, what can I glean? What can I understand? What's a new understanding that I can embrace as I reflect on the failure that I have? So it's that questioning that really gets us in the place where we are today, in the place of a reckoning. And in the reckoning, we look at the fact that this was difficult or that we failed, and then we look at how we're feeling about that. What are the emotions that we're experiencing in this failure? And how are we letting those emotions define who we are and define how we experience our life? Because the way we think and feel about ourselves is what we project to the world, right? That's what other people are reading when they communicate with us, is they're really reading what we feel about ourselves. And if we feel powerful and strong, then we're emulating that as opposed to emulating or expressing that I don't feel good about myself, or I don't feel like I'm enough, or I don't feel like I'm powerful enough, or I'm loving enough. There is in human beings what neuroscientists call a negativity bias. We tend to slant a lot of things in our lives and what we experience in a negative way. And have you ever had the thought, if people knew who I really was, they wouldn't think that I was so great? Ever have that thought? I think it's pretty common for us human beings to think, if they really knew what's going on in my head, they wouldn't have such a high opinion of me. And oftentimes we don't want to deal with this negativity bias until we hit the bottom. And so what we're going to talk about today is how can we keep that from hitting bottom to be the determining factor in really reckoning with ourselves. We want to keep those stories that we have in check so they don't take us down a rabbit hole. So today, I release my stories and embrace the powerful expression of God that I am. Anybody remember the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel? Remember the story? It comes from Genesis. And it's kind of a fun story. You can imagine, Jacob was born, had a twin, and actually Jacob was the second twin that was born. Now, in that time, the firstborn got all of the riches and got the largest inheritance. But Jacob was the secondborn. But somehow he fooled his brother and his father into believing that he was the firstborn. So he took his brother's birthright from him, right? And for years after that, he felt guilty, he felt afraid, he felt angry that at some point there was going to be some retribution. So Jacob hears that his brother is coming with 400 men. And so Jacob sends his family across the river so they would be safe. And he stays by himself. And you might remember during the night what happens. An angel comes, right? A being comes, a man comes and lifts him out of his bed and takes him out, and they fight and they wrestle all night long. And it's not until daybreak when the man that Jacob is fighting with, says, "Let me go, for it's daybreak." And Jacob said, "I will not let you go until you bless me." And the man asked, "What is your name?" Jacob told him his name. And the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob. Your name will be Israel, because you have struggled with God, with humans, and now have overcome, and therefore you have a new name." Metaphysically, Israel represents a higher consciousness. It represents the divine. It represents God. It represents spirit. So what he is saying, that you wrestled with yourself, that God part of yourself, and you have discovered the truth of who you are. And in waking from this experience, Jacob said, "I no longer have anger towards my brother. I feel forgiveness towards my brother." And he was able instantly to release the guilt and the fear, and he was able to greet his brother and the 400 men in love. Now, this story is, of course, about us, and it's about us wrestling with that God part of ourselves, right? When we have a story, and this story is what we believe about ourselves, but when we wrestle with ourselves, we wrestle with these stories that we have, and we say, okay, what is the truth in this? Because oftentimes it's our stories that hold us back and keep us from being who we are. Life happens, and then we create a story about it. Is that true? We make up the meaning. Life happens, and we give it meaning. What I think is so fun about this story is that when Jacob's brother comes, and the 400 men, they come bringing presents. His brother comes in forgiveness, and he says, "I came to forgive you." Now, what I think is so amazing about that, how often have you ever created a story about somebody else and found out it wasn't true? Right? That you made this whole dramatic assumption of 400 things that are going to happen, and it wasn't true. Right? Isn't that what we do? So when we're able to really wrestle with ourselves, to wrestle with our stories, and look at what is the true meaning for me in this story? Jacob said, "It's because I saw God face to face that my life was spared." Wow. Both Luke Skywalker and Jacob are battling their own consciousness. Their problems, like many of our problems, are outside of ourselves. We like to blame Darth Vader, don't we? Right? And he's not even real. And we want to blame, I think it's human nature to want to blame somebody else for the challenges that we have in our own lives and not take the responsibility ourselves. You remember the story of Adam from the book of Genesis. God says to Adam, "I want you to go and you get to name all of the animals of the field. And in the same way, you get to name all of the birds of the sky." So we imagine that Adam goes out and he names all these things, right? And what I think is so interesting about that, we get to do the same thing. We get to name things, good or bad. Oh, this is good. This person said this thing to me. That's really good. Oh, this person looked at me funny. That's really bad. I'm going to choose to be happy today. Oh, I think I'm just going to be pissed off at the world today and look at everything from that point of view. We get to have that power in every moment to choose what we experience. True for you? this event happened because this happened, and therefore I'm going to respond this way because we think we're taking power. But in the truth of it is, when we don't see things for what they truly are, we disembark from our power. We let go of our power. There's a story about 3 umpires. There's a rookie umpire, there's a journeyman umpire, and there is an old umpire, been around for 100 years. And the rookie umpire was talking to the 2 other umpires, and he said, "Don't you ever worry about making a wrong call? Don't you ever worry that all those millions of people watching on TV are going to go, that wasn't out, he was safe." You ever done that? And the journeyman says, a ball is a ball and a strike is a strike. And then the old guy steps in and says, it ain't nothing till I name it. Right? And it's the same with us. There ain't nothing happening until we name it. We get to call it what it is, and then we create our story based on how we called it. Shakespeare said, "Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so." I love that. And then a lot of you may know Myrtle Fillmore. She was a co-founder of Unity, and when she was young, she had tuberculosis. Right? And she was really sick, and she wasn't supposed to live. And she went and saw the great metaphysician, E.B. Weeks, and she walked away from that meeting with the thought that I'm a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. That was the essence of his message, right? And then she took that and said, you know what? That really feels true to me. So she began affirming for herself every day, many hours a day, I am healthy. My body is healthy. I love my body. And she would speak to all of the places in her body saying, I love you. You're strong. You're powerful. You're healthy. You're whole. And in 2 years, Myrtle Fillmore was totally able to be healed from the tuberculosis that she had. And that's how Unity was born. And since then, we've been using healing positive affirmations to lift us up and to heal us and help us to be present in the moment. Myrtle refused to believe or perpetuate the story that she was sick. She refused. She didn't buy into that story. She didn't buy into the idea that that story was going to control her life or inhibit her experience. And she lived to be 86 years old, many years older than the tuberculosis. Today, I release my stories and embrace the powerful expression of God that I am. True for you? All right, let's say it together, and let's say it with power. Say it like you believe it, like you know it's true. It's a true story for you, yes? Let's say it together. Today, I release my stories and embrace the powerful expression of God that I am. Life has the meaning that we give it. Jesus said, let your answer be yes, yes, or no, no. Really, anything else drives God crazy. That's my own commentary. But, we want to wrestle with this truth. Take your stories to this truth essence within you, this presence of God that is the essence of who you are, and ask, is this really true? Or is this a story that I'm making up? Or can I take this story and change what it means? Can I take the fact that I feel like I was abandoned or abused or hurt or frightened and change that story to embrace the truth of who we are, who you are. So I got some homework for you today. So what I invite you to do this next week is to identify a success that you had, a story that you had, right? And something that has happened recently. It could be a minor thing. It could be just that you were looking for something good to make and you made a new recipe. It could be something as simple as that. And really look at how does that feel for you? How does that feel to be in that place of accomplishment and to really feel the pride, feel the happiness, and really get into it, and then take it to the next level. And imagine that you could look at that success with spiritual eyes and to lift that feeling, that success up and say, okay, how can I see this in even a more enlightened way? How can I feel the joy of that in another way in my life, that I can take that event and bring that creative process and that expression into my life in a more powerful way? So that's the first part. And you have to do at least 2 of these, all right? And the second one is take a recent failure, something that you tried and it didn't work out the way you wanted, right? And so just look at how you feel. How did you feel about that when it happened? Can you just embrace it and say, wow, I felt disempowered, I felt helpless, I felt unworthy, I felt not very smart, I didn't feel very powerful. And just kind of get into that, feel that, and then look at it differently. Then look back with your spiritual eyes at this same event and realize, how can I see this differently? How can I see this challenging event in a more powerful way? How can I know that this event is going to serve me in some way? What can I learn from this event? Life is a growth opportunity. We either reckon with the situations that create challenging emotions, or we get to repeat them. Isn't that great? I love that. So it's time to start seeing our stories from a larger picture. Look back at the events in your life and change the way you see them. See them as an enlightened being on this path of transformation, embraced by the presence of Spirit and God, to live a powerful life. You name it. You get to reckon with yourself, like Luke, like Jacob, like Myrtle Fillmore. And in the end, you will see your challenges as amazing opportunities to express and experience the fullness of who you are. We don't have to define ourselves with disempowering stories. So now is the time for you to get in the game. You have the power to rewrite your life in a way that sets your true self free. Right now. Namaste. Today, I release my stories and embrace the powerful expression of God that I am. Let's say it one last time. Today, I release my stories and embrace the powerful expression of God that I am. So today, I am a blessing to the world. I invite you to close your eyes and to bring your awareness into the place of your heart. Breathing in and letting go. Just to relax and let yourself be free in this moment. And today, you take on new power. You step into the ability to write your own story. To let your story be one of empowerment. To let your story be one of truth, of love. Breathing in and breathing out. Knowing that this powerful force of life is moving in and through and as you in powerful ways right now. Ways that help you remember who you are. To remember that you are the essence of Spirit, that you are the essence of God. That presence is a huge force in you. And you are so connected to this loving energy that you experience and express your life from this source. And let's take just a moment to rest in the silence, acknowledging the presence of Spirit in every thought, every feeling, everything that you think, say, and do. And that's happening right now in the silence. Breathing in and breathing out. Gently becoming aware of the light in this room, the sounds, the feeling. And now gently allow your awareness to begin to return to this moment. And as you open your eyes, I invite you to let a smile come to your face. And to come to a place of knowing that everything's going to be all right. Well, I invite you at this time to prepare your donations and your love offerings to Unity on Maui. And thank you again for being here today, because I know and believe that it is our consciousness that creates what we bring together and what we share on Sunday morning. And it's my hope that what we talk about impacts your life in a positive way. And I always like to think that as we give, we receive. And when we open ourselves up and give, it opens our heart and our mind to receive. So the gifts that we give are circles of energy that return to us in powerful ways. So, and for those of you watching on Facebook, you can go to Unity Church of Maui's webpage, www.unityonmaui.org, and make a safe donation there, or send a check to Unity on Maui at 483 South High Street in Wailuku. So why don't we hold our gifts and affirm and pray together our prayer for abundance and prosperity together, which begins through a grateful, giving heart. My mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. And so it is. Namaste. Thank you, loving Spirit, for these gifts that have come to us in love. We hold them, we bless them, we give thanks for them. We know that they move through us, through this ministry, and out into the world. And we behold a world that's filled with love, with joy, and with peace. And so it is. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for your help today. So, you have a great opportunity on Sunday morning to have part of your life or something that you would like to share with us that is alive, or not, like these, but that you can bring flowers, and we'd love to have them up on our lectern on Sunday morning, and you can sign up for them in the back. There's a sign-up sheet, and I think we are in need of some flowers for the next couple weeks. So put your name down and how you'd like those flowers dedicated, and you can bring them and take them home, and thank you for doing that. Well, next week is our third journey through the Rising Strong book, and my talk title is Get Ready to Rumble. Are you ready to rumble? Yeah. And next week is a special Sunday for a number of different reasons. One, because we're going to have a loving rumble, and also it's Robin's last Sunday with us next week, and she's headed off to the mainland for other adventures, and So we're going to put together a real experiential service for next week that will give us the opportunity to actually literally step into a new way of being. We're going to do some NLP, if you know what that means, neuro-linguistic programming, as part of our talk and the music that we do next week. And it's going to be a bit of a Taizé service as well. So we haven't created it yet, but we're looking forward to Spirit working through us. Robin's working diligently on it right at this moment, being the dedicated soul that she is. So join us right here next week at Unity on Maui at 10 o'clock. And you might know Myrtle Fillmore is organizing community activities that we get to participate in. Next week, it's June 4th. There'll be a sunset walk at La Perouse, going to La Perouse Bay. And it says here, wear closed shoes. Highly recommend that. If you've ever taken that walk before, it's a great walk to work on your balance. And if you want to wear strong-toed shoes, because it's challenging, but it's not difficult, but it's challenging. So, and it's amazingly beautiful. Anybody hasn't been there before? Okay, check it out. You can call Mike at this number, 808-866-8622 for more information about that. And then Mike won't be able to host, there's a little bit more information about that, events on June 18th and July 2nd. And if you have an idea for an event, you'd like to host an event, you can contact Joy at joyworks@sonic.net if you have any ideas. And she's working with Mike to find events for those days. All right, and if you enjoyed this talk today and you're curious how you might remember anything that I talked about, I've got a walk your talk or a summary of my talk on the back table that you're glad to take with you. And those of you watching on Facebook, that'll come out in our newsletter on Thursday. All right then, so I think without further ado and without doing anything further, why don't we stand and we'll say the prayer for protection together, and then Robin will lead us in the peace song. So let's say it together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. God bless you, friends. Thank you for being here. Aloha. I'll see you next week.
Where I live, they're all raised.